Happy Wednesday, Jasiri family. Now, midweek is the moment where some of us are running on coffee and vibes, while others are already dreaming of the weekend. But here on Jasiri, Wednesdays are for fresh energy and good conversations. Now, I know many of us recognize that there is talent everywhere in Nigeria, but much of that talent never reaches its full potential. But is that because of a lack of guidance, support, structures, or what? Let's tackle the mentorship myth and why the next generation needs more than guidance. That conversation comes up later with our guest. But first,
still speaking about the next generation, let's talk about the growing menace on our streets in Lagos. Ex-user That Ojo Boy posted a video of Burna Boy leaving a club in Lagos and the crowd of street boys waiting outside for him. Another user at HCIMCI responded saying it's starting to feel like the government is deliberately ignoring this Lekki Expressway to punish the residents of that axis. Then at Olukayode Ajenifuja tweeted, and I quote, "The state needs to station the men of the Lagos State Neighborhood Watch to help and protect the motorists from the harassment, extortion, assault and intimidation by the many homeless boys and teenagers along that corridor. They are all a menace to us all," and he tagged at the follow last LASG at Tokumbo_Wahab. And the Lagos State Commissioner for Environment, and that is the person of Tokumbo Wahab, he soon responded to the tweet and he said, and I would quote, "While your opinion is valid, let me also stress an important point. Celebrities, influencers, and even well-meaning Lagosians must stop giving money to these miscreants. Each time you hand them cash, you are not solving their problem. You are encouraging them to stay on the streets, emboldening them to multiply, and reinforcing a circle of lawlessness. What may seem like an act of kindness only makes enforcement more difficult and creates bigger security and environmental concerns for all of us." End of quote.
We're back to this conversation again.
This conversation. We've had it a lot of times. A lot of times. In fact, it's as if Lagos is synonymous with miscreants. If they are not area boys, they keep changing name. We'll say Agbero. Area boys. Miscreants.
Osanle, yeah.
Osanle. All sorts of names. They keep morphing. But it seems that the pandemic is just a constant thing in Lagos.
And I feel that Lagos really hasn't gotten a hold or a handle on them. I think it's interesting for viewers to see that full video again, if we can get it playing as we talk. And at the end of the day, it's a scary thing, but it is what we see with celebrity in Nigeria. But it's not just celebrity. So you see, I don't even know which car Burna Boy is in. I don't care. There's this, I think they call it McLaren, there's a Tesla, but you just see this group of young boys and sometimes even men who are there. Once they spot a big car, they're going to wait outside and they're going to make demands.
Yeah, if you go to parties, and the scary thing, I think what changed for me is the demography. The age
they got younger.
Demography. They have gotten younger. Yeah. Now you have teenage boys on the streets a lot. Before, area boys used to be like aged older men, not young adults. But now it seems like they are very young, and they are a lot. There's hardly any society party you go to
that they're not
waiting outside for you. And I won't lie, it's very scary. Sometimes when you're entering your car, you have to be very watchful. And hold your things about you, and because they will come to your car. I even saw one that demanded that. I said, "I don't have cash." He said, Lolo, give us, we have ATM and we have POS.
Yeah.
They carry POS. I'm not even joking. Some would even tell you that you should send it to their account, that they can call their account for you.
Lola, but what's the difference between them and, you know, the beggars on the street?
No, beggars are, maybe beggars, I'll say beggars don't have aggression.
Some of them do.
Some of them
talked about it.
Not all, but area boys come with a bit of, and this sense of entitlement is about them. At least a beggar is probably saying, "Please give me money." So these ones are demanding. They won't tell you.
Who is enabling them? Because, you know, a lot of people have actually complained that if you do not give them money, they end up breaking your windshield, you know, causing problem, or even stealing.
Have you seen the ones that hold onto your car and run after it?
So
get injured?
And then they want to blame you for the injury.
And they want to blame you for the injury?
But don't forget that because we didn't handle them when they were just begging on the streets, they permeated everywhere. So Lola was talking about events. I know a lot of creatives in Nollywood and those who are filming can talk about the fact that just to film on any road now, somebody is coming to demand money.
It's not even negotiable.
It's not negotiable.
Let me tell you, there's some areas that you want to shoot in. I cannot lie to you. You have to go there with your team before the shoot and try to find who are the key people in this area for you to shoot. Because if you don't do that, they'll come after your equipment, they'll disrupt the place, they can even injure. I don't want to begin to talk about A-listers. I know that we have shot, Jennifer and I, we wanted to shoot. We couldn't. We had to pack up and leave. Because they would not stop coming. No matter as you are finishing, another set notices that, oh, it's her. And they come again.
And I remember we had, I think in our first few months, we had Biodun Stevens, the Nollywood producer in the studio, and she talked about, I remember it happened to her, and that's why we brought her. And one of her staff, one of the people who were working on the set with her, got injured in this situation. And she even, I don't know if it was her, somebody else who mentioned that sometimes you can even have police. These people overwhelm the police.
Yeah.
They overwhelm the police, and everybody keeps saying we're sitting on a keg of gunpowder, and I don't see why we don't recognize it. I said it here. I remember there's this. I'm trying to remember the name of the road in VI, and I was just
where you were assaulted.
No, even everybody has had their own. So I was going. I can't remember that leads to Legale Ayorinde, where the pizza place is. So just that light that's just there, right? You see a pack of them. When I said pack, I'm talking about like 6 or 8. And it was the car in front of me. And if you know that road, there's a junction. So before you get to the light, there's another road. So I was at the back. And I could see this woman. And it was a woman because she passed me as she got in front. And she was overwhelmed with them. All of a sudden, 6 or 8. So we're not talking young boys, teenagers. Yeah. And they're scary looking.
And those ones
they come to the door. They try to open the door.
What I even think is there must be some kind of enablement behind this thing. Because if there is no key power under it, I wonder how long this thing has been thriving. Yeah. Because before we knew they used to use them a lot for political thuggery and harassment and intimidation in politics, usually election time. But now they seem to have, garnered more strength.
It's also possible that some of the situations that people go through, these boys are responsible, because it's like anything that happens to you, they're just waiting, lurking in the corners, and once it happens, they just spring up from nowhere. Because, I was in a situation, at some point with one of my friends. We're going out at night, and our car stopped around Lekki and all that. And all of a sudden, these boys came out.
You never know where they're going to come out.
And, they came with the, with the aim of trying to help you and everything. And even while they did help, but I don't want to say on air what I had to threaten them with before, they let us go.
They listened to your threat.
They did.
Just last month, I had to go somewhere in the morning. I was on a film set, so I had to leave home like 5 a.m. And of course, unfortunately for me, I got like my tire deflated under Aja Bridge. Of course, they came. Before I knew it, 3 people had become 4, 4 had become 8. Tolu, at the end of the day, do you know how to negotiate payment? They helped me change the tire. I gave them, I think I first gave them 3,000. They said, they threw it back at me. That this is not their money. I ended up parting with 10,000 naira.
It's not their money.
And I had to do it because every time I say no, or this, I cannot show you want to use the area, they keep coming. More keep coming. I said, and it was early in the morning, and I just could not afford to stay there. I just had to move.
It's crazy, but then you have, Wahab saying that we should stop enabling them by giving them money.
I wanted to talk about
how security.
Exactly.
At that moment, you just want to secure yourself.
Because a lot of what he's saying is that it feels like it's almost a blame the victim kind of mentality that he get. So again, look at the tweet that he says, each time you hand them cash, you're not solving their problem. You're encouraging them to stay on the streets, emboldening them to multiply and reinforcing a cycle of lawlessness. What may seem like an act of kindness only makes enforcement more difficult and creates bigger security and environmental concerns for all of us. I know a lot of people who have refused. So I think there's a separation here. They're the beggars.
Yeah.
A lot of people have stopped giving the beggars money. But let's not forget that these boys that we're talking about in terms of area boys and agbero and ruffians and whatever miscreants we want to call them, there's an intimidating and violent manner of approach that they even start off with. Beggars don't always start with that.
Yes, you don't even know what they're even carrying. You know, unlike our politicians and leaders, when they're moving, we
don't have personal security.
We do not have personal security.
Do you know, sometimes I go to parties now, and it's harder for us who have faces that can be recognized.
Yeah.
So I would lie to you, there's no time I want to go out to any event now that I don't have extra money, because even if you don't give, they'll start cursing at you, and you'll be so scared.
Is that entitlement?
You'll be so scared. You never know what they can do.
You sit somewhere. You talk about Osanle. Osanle, basically, if you don't know, is just the one who ran away. Not all of them ran away. Some of them have homes. This is part of, you know, that latchkey thing I was telling you guys about before I traveled. This is part of
it's a job
parents not being home.
Abandoning them at home.
When they find themselves finding community outside their home, and they latch onto a group, and they latch onto an area brother who all of a sudden starts sending them out. It's all a cycle. It's all interconnected, and I don't think we as a society see those interconnections, especially to also the violence. Remember what was happening before I traveled, the cult violence in Mushin. Some of this is part of it. Do you think they stay in Mushin? And I know some of these places, all over. Each of these individuals have areas, and you just can't go into an area if they don't recognize you. But it is all leaching out, and I feel like everybody keeps Tokumbo Wahab blaming us more than a lack of enforcement.
It's like they want us to do their job for them. You know, there should be enforcement agencies to be able to deal with these. What about Kai?
Yesterday we talked about agriculture. I know that maybe because something, I don't even think it's a Eureka moment. Do you know that now I see Kai, as in all those people enforcing street trading, I see them active these days. Do you know that if they carry all these boys off the streets, go to an enclosed farm, put them there, let them work, let them be paid?
Are they willing to do that?
It's not about their willing. It's like community service for being found on the street. By the time you go to the farm, 6 months, and you're working, though they'll pay them a stipend, when you come out, you will not want to be found on the street. You will find something to do. There are so many places because if you take them off the street and there is nothing for them to do.
Let's not also forget that some of these boys are hooked on drugs as well.
That makes them much more dangerous. Makes it more dangerous for us. Look at, I talk to artisans like tailors, plumbers. Do you know they tell me that, no, many of these young children don't want to learn
a trade anymore,
They don't want to learn a skill. They just want money. And this Yahoo trend is like, Yahoo is their evening job. Then hooliganism and other
is their morning job.
So these boys are just looking for quick fixes. But by the time you take them and employ them, imagine if you go and you break stones, and maybe at the end of the day you collect 5,000 naira. The next time they are ready, you will not be found. But at least they would have contributed to the society in some way. And at the end of the day, I'm not asking them to use them for free. If they collect in prison, I hear that there are some advanced prison that you can do laundry, you can do this, and you can get paid. These are systems we need to inculcate into. There are so many things that they can do for us. They can break palm kernels for export, make palm oil. So
they
many,
can sweep the streets.
Sweep the streets, scrub. By the time that you are doing all this community service, I'm telling you, for the next 6 months, if they catch you on the street, you will be in an artisan's shop learning mechanic.
Let's see if we have some reactions that might have some of the suggestions that Lolo has before we go on this break. Now, again, passing the buck for the government's responsibility. The truth is no one likes to beg. The situation in the country is unbearable, and people are now making a career out of begging. The government's duty is to ensure that citizens are catered to. In the U.S., the government provides food stamps and in some cases helps citizens pay rent and even phone internet bills through its social security program. This is the Trump administration. When you ask citizens, when you ask citizens not to help, you leave these poor people with no other option but to resort to crime. Providing for people experiencing poverty may be an act of charity, but it is also the most critical layer of security. Again, I don't like this where we conflate poverty with criminality. There's crime on all levels of society. Lagos State should have a skill acquisition training center, Lolo, where jobless young people are sent to if found loitering on the roads. This is the best way to get them Busy. Okay, we have one for Lolo. Dear Honorable Commissioner, those boys harass, rob, and maim everyday people at Oshodi, 3rd Milan Bridge, and other places at will, and eulogize celebrities who are forced to pay them for easy passage. Their presence on the roads and the possibility of attack incites fear in Lagosians and foreigners, what we just said. You can never be a commissioner with this response. Some of these miscreants can damage your car if you don't give them money. One celebrity called Fina complained about what these boys did to her car recently. Kindly get the folks off the road or off the streets. While your point is valid, let me also stress an important point. It's not celebrities, influencers, and even well-meaning Lagosians that give money to these miscreants in Oshodi, Mile 12, Mile 2, Ikotun, Ikorodu, Ojota, Ajah, Ikorodu, etc. These people were created by the states under the disguise of NURTW workers, staff working for one chairman. They're everywhere and a time bomb to explode anytime. So please, let's tell ourselves the truth. That's another layer, but I don't think it's those younger boys. If we don't give them, they attack you and vandalize your car. Majority do not give them money out of kindness. We are literally scared. And I think that's a point that the commissioner needs to recognize. The state also needs to recognize that people are not giving Especially, remember, we have to separate the beggars that people decide to give versus these young boys and young men on the streets. But people are not giving because they want to. People are giving because they're scared. They're literally intimidated and harassed into giving. It happened.
Forced, of course.
I thought Lagos would not. Lagos has happened to me at least 4 times.
Hey, how many times?
It's crazy. People are giving.
Was so scared. I don't remember. One of our colleagues then, I think, I've forgotten her name. They hit her car and hit her teeth. Like she had to replace her teeth.
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
So, Commissioner Tokunbo Wahab, while you might think that it is us and celebrities and influencers who are feeding this monster, we are not. All of us are just afraid of the monster.
Absolutely. Now, we'll take a break, in a bit. But when we talk about the future of creativity in Nigeria and Africa, one thing becomes really clear. Talent alone is not enough. Mentorship, guidance, and the right platforms can make all the difference for the next generation of storytellers and content creators. And that is why, after the break, we'll be joined by Kola Oshalusi, a Nigerian-based creative photographer, the creative director at Insigna Media, and convener of West Africa's largest photography gathering, the Business of Photography Conference, also known as BOP. Now let's talk about how mentorship and creativity can be used as tools to empower the next generation of African creatives. We'll take a break now. When we come back, the show continues. Stay with us.
Nigeria is bursting with talent. You see it on our streets, in our music, our films, our art. But here's the uncomfortable truth. For many young creatives, the system feels like it's designed to keep them stuck. From the rising cost of living, the unstable power, to the lack of platforms outside Lagos and Abuja, creativity in Nigeria can sometimes feel like a battle of survival. And yet, against all odds, young people are still dreaming, still creating, still finding ways to tell their stories. The big question is, how do they turn that raw talent into sustainable careers? Is it really about passion, or is passion just not enough in a country where rent, fuel, and food prices don't wait for your dreams to take off? Our guest today knows this struggle well. He has built a career that spans continents, but instead of just chasing global success, he's investing in building the next generation of Nigerian creatives. From photography to mentorship, from content creation to community building, he's proving that creativity can be more than a hustle. It can be a tool for empowerment. So let's ask, how do we break the barriers holding our young people, our young creatives back? And what will it take for Nigerian talent to shine both at home and on the stage? Kola Oshalusi is a Nigerian-based creative photographer whose work spans events, portraits, fashion, lifestyle, and commercial photography, as well as commissions that have taken him across the world. He's also creative director of Insigna Media, where it's not just about creating content, but building value. Kola, welcome back.
Back again.
I wasn't here, but welcome back to Jasiri.
Bookie is always taking him on the
Kola, it's so good to see you. But before we get into this conversation, we need to pick up from our last conversation. Okay. Have you, I want to say if you ever had, but I want to assume you've had, have you ever had an encounter with any of these infamous miscreants, area boys, agberos, whatever name we call them in the course of your work?
Oh, I think it's a daily thing in Lagos
now.
Yeah, it's almost like a normal thing in Lagos. Before they were not emboldened, now I think they're really emboldened. So, I mean, for someone like me, all the times I work late and all of that, it's something that you literally, get in touch with, or come across these people like literally every day. They're not asking you for money. They're hailing you. They're not hailing you. They're subtly threatening you. So. And you also need to be wise, that's what the Bible said, and the servant was very wise. So you have to be wise how to manage them, because even if you grew up in the lungu, as it's called, you also need to respect the lungu, You don't want to be caught in the midst of what's not right, so, yeah.
And one thing we picked up, I think Lolo mentioned it while we were talking off air, but not on the show, was that we also see a situation. No, you mentioned that a lot of them are apprentices.
Yeah.
And the situation we find, if you talk to some people who are artisans now, they're struggling to find apprentices because young boys no longer want to do the job. They no longer want to learn the skill. And girls as well.
Yeah.
Have you found that to be so in your experience as well?
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And subtly, it's a pandemic. Yeah. It's a huge pandemic that we need to start rethinking so many things in terms of approach. Otherwise, maximum in the next 4 or 5 years, we won't be able to handle this. Yeah, maximum next 4 or 5 years, because you barely see young people want to take out time to learn. They don't believe in mentorship. They don't believe in guidance. Everybody wants that quick money, quick cash. Content creation, what they see, what they're exposed to, has literally continued to influence them, and that's become a problem. So you go to your average mechanic workshop, literally half of the guys in the mechanic workshop are quote-unquote Yahoo people. The very few ones that, are concerned about the work, feel as if they're not getting a headway when, they're broke and these guys are living large.
Yeah.
The same thing in the creative space. You have young people say, I'm working, and then you see some other guy, living flashy, and then they're questioning, are we?
What exactly am I doing?
Are we in the same place? So it's really a tough one. We need to rethink a lot of things within our system. Otherwise, we've got a pandemic or a sort of catastrophe in our hands that can, literally implode the whole system if we're not careful.
Yeah. Very interesting, very interesting. I'm very excited that we have a super creative here who can literally, talk on some of this. But let's be honest, the system feels rigged sometimes. Rising costs, unstable power, no access to proper tools or training. It's almost as if Nigeria dares young creatives to fail. Yet many still dream big. Oh, we are big dreamers in Nigeria, trust me. In this kind of hostile environment, let me even talk subtly about somebody like a photographer. I have heard some astronomical numbers that you used to buy on my camera.
No, you don't.
That you used to take pictures.
You don't
and you'd be like, in that kind of hostile environment, how does a young creative realistically start small and still be able to build something sustainable without burning out or giving up? Because I've been under your tutelage a couple of times, and I know where you started from. I can't lie to you. The pedestal some of these young ones have to start from is a bit high. That is like an impossible reach for them.
So I think the biggest problem is for us as a country and as a people, we fail to see how we've grown as a cultural or as a cultural country or a cultural community. Africans are extremely cultural, and if you see most foundational projects or most projects that are African related, they're based on mentorship. So the apprenticeship / mentorship spirit is who we are.
Yes.
But some way, somehow, we've left that for quote unquote. I'm not trying to have, talk down on what's the influence of foreign education, but you don't discard who you are to want to become someone else. And that's where I think the problem is. So our educational system, the foundational educational system that is added to us, that is cultural to us, we've left it to focus on, foreign kind of education. So left things like apprenticeship, giving it a different name. We don't believe in that. We just believe throw money at them, they will learn. Oh, put them up on YouTube. You don't have to guide them. take them to the four walls of a classroom. They don't need guidance. They don't need monitoring. So when you have all of that, we forget the fundamental. The fundamental is we're still humans. Humans have a lot of impacts on one another when they're in close proximity. Till we begin to look at things that way, we're not going anywhere. Yeah.
All right, now there's this idea, I'm going to speak, because I'm really sure of, where it came from. So there's this idea that a lot of talent in the North have, and is that if you're not in Lagos, then you cannot make it. That's the main idea that they have. But now it's either Lagos or Abuja. So, let's talk about, talent in smaller cities, because we know that some of them actually often die in silence because there are no mentors. The truth is, some of these artists, or talents, when they leave wherever they're coming from, the smaller cities, they come to Lagos, they either make it or they do not. Okay. So, should a creative really have to relocate to be seen? If not, how possible is it that we can actually bridge the gap so that geography is not a challenge when it comes to smaller cities, Lagos, and the creatives making it big?
And I like what you've said is fantastic. I how do I put it? It's almost like you're saying and explaining what the country needs now. So, and I'm throwing this in the air. If you can grab it, start it. I've shared it with a couple of people in the last few years. I've been working on our project. Shared it with some people in government as well as the next frontier for Nigeria creative industry to grow. Now, we need to look at the challenges of creatives beyond them just relocating. We need to look at the moment you're having rural-urban migration, you're pulling resources away from communities, throwing it into an overpopulated space. That's why you have Lagos oversaturated, overpopulated, and this is what's going to happen to the creative industry. The bulk of the people in the creative space now that are making money, they are not totally being patronized by local audience. They're patronized by global audience. And you know why? Lagos is getting overpopulated. Average population in Lagos is over 40 million. I don't know, but trust me, it's around 40 million. Number of creatives in Lagos, let me stick with photographers, videographers. I'm leaving content creators, with phones and all of that. Photographers, videographers in Lagos is over 120,000. Now, what happens is you get flooded with so many of these images that look alike. They all learn from the same space and all of that. So there's no identity to it. Now, you don't blame these guys that want to come to Lagos, because even the guys that are in other states want to fly a photographer from Lagos to come and shoot for them. So the solution, so I like talking solution when we talk problems. The solution which I've been preaching in the last few years is for any wise government, for any strategic government, local, states, federal, come up with ideas to stop rural-urban migration. Create small creative hubs. Hubs that will guarantee the local guys that they're going to make money in their space. Create a platform for them that if somebody needs to get their resource, they can find them. Create a proper pool for database. Data is a big problem. When you have all of these things put in place, why would I want to come to Lagos? I'll give you a critical example. Average cost of living, average cost of rent on the island, depending on where you're staying on the island, is about minimal about 7 million, 7 million for like a 2-3 bedroom. Now, 7 million in Ekiti State.
You live like kings. First of all, the flat would be like maybe 1.5, 2 million.
Depending on where you're staying.
Depending on where again, and depending on your taste.
Yes, so the flats in Ekiti, even though the locals are complaining that housing is expensive,
has gone up.
The flats in Ekiti, you pay annually 350,000, 360 for a 3-bedroom.
And if you see the size of some of them.
Do you understand? So when you look at that, even if you make things work for the local guy, there's no reason why he wants to come and live in Lagos. You just need to understand this, spread the access on a local scale, and then you prevent that. Because the guy that wants to come, he just wants to live a good life as well. And he has access to internet. He's seeing what other people are doing, and he's super creative. Everywhere in Nigeria, like you've said, There are talents literally everywhere. I've traveled, so many parts of this country, and I'm sitting with creators. I'm like, wow. And I have students that, I've got mentees that I've tried advising to stay in a local community, but I mean, they also justify when they say, no, boss, help us. We can't. So it's a big issue that we don't need to see even from just a creative point of view. It's a national issue.
So you talk about it in terms of rural to urban migration, and that's sort of like the local conversation around it. But then there's the urban to outside, the japa part of it. So looking at the number of Nigerians that have migrated in the past few years, you'll know that creatives are among them. And we see what creatives outside of Nigeria are doing. So if we have not solved it in the rural communities, and we're still struggling to solve it, even if there's an oversaturation of creatives in a place like Lagos or Abuja, and we haven't solved it nationally before Nigerians japa, that means we're losing. And it means that there's a bigger conversation, as you just said, at play here. So how do we convince Nigerians? Because it's one person for somebody to come from my hometown, Obumasho, to Lagos and say, I want to make it. But then the person in Lagos is realizing that I'm no longer a big fish in a small pond. I'm a small fish in a very small, small pond now. Let me take my chances outside, which means we lose people like you. So how do we fix that if we are yet to fix the urban part of it?
So I don't want to say government. So I've
Is there another name? Big brother. What do you want to call them?
So what I've tried doing, and what we've done since 2018 when we started the Business of Photography conference, is we've said to ourselves, listen, if we wait for governments, we're on a long thing. So why don't we start localizing these problems and solving it? So the BOP project, from a conference to an online magazine, has also moved to having smaller pots of conversations across the country. And what we've realized is, till the government sees the creative industry as an integral part of everything called Nigeria, we're not going anywhere. I love the ambition of the present administration saying they want to create 2.5 million jobs, within the creative sector. But it's one thing to talk. It's another thing to put your money or your mouth where your money is, whichever way, and to really drive it. Yes, they've created an industry, quote unquote, a ministry that oversees that area. But you don't just stop at that. You look at strategic funding. You don't wait for only international partners to come and give you money to build your local economy. Because the reality is this: equipment are bought in quote unquote USD. Currency has been devalued. Okay, I'll give you a very small typical example. If I were to shoot sports, you want to wonder why there are limited number of sports photographers in Nigeria. If I was to shoot sports, and I'm using a 300 or a 400 mm, even an L4, it's about $6,000-7,000 for the lens alone.
Which one is so
Now, if I'm doing a 500, maybe 2.8 or a 4, I'm doing almost about $8,000-9,000.
Because sports photography requires a specific
kind of lens. The same with wildlife. Now, that's just the lens. It's got nothing to do with the camera body. It's got nothing to do with other accessories. So for me to pull that together to shoot sports alone very well and make sports a marketable product for those in the area of sports to get right content, every equipment I move around with at a time is about $12,000 to $13,000.
And they want to move around in this Lagos.
Now, let's not even say I do insurance and I'm able to. But the problem is this: do the conversion of $13,000 at $1,500.
How do you make your money?
Do you understand?
You make your money.
Now, how do you bill? The same equipment you're using. These companies are not local companies, so you don't get these equipments locally. Don't forget, we don't want a credit economy. Which means you pay cash. For everything. So you are either taking loan, direct loan from a bank at 30, considering the interest rate, you are doing about 30-something%. Except there's something else I'm doing.
Yes.
There's no way I will pay you back. If you're giving me a loan of about 40 to 50 million to buy my camera, there is no way I will pay you back in 2-3 years. Except you're telling me once I buy it, you're giving me a job and this is the X amount and I can calculate. Well, otherwise, I cannot. So that becomes the bane. But if I go into another economy, so I'm addressing the local japa / the out-of-town japa. But if I go and I find my way to become a Canadian, or I get a PR to become a Canadian or another country that runs a credit economy, all I need is build up my credit a little.
Half your obstacles
you understand?
are gone.
Yeah.
I get all the equipment, I shoot better. I get courses I can buy. I get a system that supports training. We've been trying to do that. We've been pushing training and all of that. But it's tough, but we're not giving up. We're pushing this training continuously in our own little space, but the government needs to see.
So the Navy did not want to call.
Yeah,
Let's take a break on that note. The Navy did not want to call. Let's come back to it because at the base of this conversation, as many is, it's an infrastructure conversation, and nobody is in charge of infrastructure like the government. We'll pick this up after the break. Stay with us.
Welcome back. If you have not been with us from the very beginning, I must tell you categorically that you have missed a very robust conversation. But don't worry, we are on YouTube. Go and search us out at News Central TV, every other platforms. That's where we're at. And just hashtag Jasiri. You'll see this conversation. We still have Kola Oshalusi with us, and we're just unraveling the creative industry and how mentorship is very pivotal. Or are we able to mentor properly? Very, very insightful conversation we've been having. Thank you, Kola, for still being here.
Yeah, sure.
You know, in many Nigerian homes, careers like music, photography, and film, let me say they used to see it as hobbies. Because I doubt if it's still, when I was growing up, in fact, my father had died before I even decided to do this thing I'm doing. Long before. They never would see something like dance, photography as something. It's a hobby that you take. But while medicine, law, engineering are treated as the serious parts, and a lot of our children have been set on these parts and they have not excelled, or they just become commonplace and ordinary. I've seen a lot of young people make so much out of their talents that trumps even a lawyer.
Absolutely.
So with this kind of pressure that they used to put on children, do you think that creatives can still stay true to their passion, you know, without losing family support? Imagine if your son, my son, every time he tells me he wants to do photography, I said, do content. You can shoot with your phone. Because I know that the equipment to the startup alone is a lot. How many families do you think can support their children? I want to actually take creative. And I will tell you, because I have every right to say, I've done radio for years. I know a mother who supported her sons with so many millions to try and do music. And music did not music for the boy. I'm telling you,
Music did not music.
He did music. I mean, he didn't make the grade A status that the mother, but it's not a small investment. So how do you think creatives in this generation can still get family support if you are not pushing your children towards tech? Now, I would say people have moved away from lawyer engineering. Tech is the new oil.
So I think this is where we all get it wrong. And I'm sorry I keep pushing back to government, the system, there's a lot of things to push. So the reality is this. The creative, so I'll give this simple analogy that we need to understand. There's the creative industry. Take the airline, the aircraft and the airline industry. The least paid and the least number of people that are employed in the airline industry are pilots. But without the pilots, the aircraft cannot fly. Now, we need to build a structured creative industry, and then the creatives will thrive. When there is no structured creative industry, you cannot have thriving creatives. There's a lot of value chain. We only look at the guy that is creating. We don't look at the whole value chain. Okay, photography. There's a market in Lagos called Aroloya. A lot of people don't know Aroloya.
Aroloya.
Aroloya has been there for more than 50, 60 years. All they do on Aroloya is sell photography equipment. That's what it's known for. It's a multi-billion-dollar small street with every equipment. You see a small shop that has cameras and all that running into thousands of dollars, manned by one young guy who learned from his uncle who was selling, going through the apprenticeship system, and they've been able to build that system. Now, you need him, because it's the guy that knows his routes in all the foreign countries that sell this equipment. You need him to actually be able to get those equipment. But you don't know him. You think he's not important. You're focusing on the photographer. But you've forgotten that when the photographer takes pictures, the cost, the money made from the equipment doesn't come to the photographer. When the equipment gets damaged, the photographer doesn't fix it. Some people fix it. Now, when it's done shooting, modern day there's digital, there's a person called retoucher. He's not the photographer. He's the one that does retouching of the images. Now, there's the guy that prints. The printing materials are not even made locally. So they import it. Now, all of these things, the money doesn't stay here. So the industry is not here. The creatives are here. But the creatives cannot thrive because the amount of money the creative can make is limited. So you look at it holistically as a creative industry and pull all the value chain into one place. Why don't we have equipment manufacturing companies here? Why don't we have equipment servicing companies here? Why don't we build the softwares? You use softwares to retouch. Why don't we build the softwares? The computers, the laptops, they are not produced here. But see,
Kola, have you forgotten that none of your refineries are working? How old are you now?
But you see, this problem is big. So maybe they should just leave the refinery.
And we can use this money into sectors that will
if we look at all the money that's gone into one of the refineries, just bring all that money into the creative sector. Let's build a creative industry.
I love your analogy. I wish that somebody in government is listening to you right now and they are calling you to a table. But we're looking at our manufacturers. Half of our manufacturers have even left. Those we grew up to meet.
Absolutely.
How conducive would you say Nigeria is for a thriving business? Everybody I know is going to China.
Absolutely.
To go and import.
Absolutely.
So now that you are asking us to do this laudable thing, who is going to put the money down to do it?
All right, I think, we actually have more questions and we cannot trash everything today, but then we'll have to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation. Stay with us. Welcome back. We're almost done with the show and we're still talking mentorship. We still have Kola with us. And there was a question I wanted to ask, before the break. So many people who have actually made it now, it took years for them to actually build. They didn't just start and, become famous. Well, it was easy for some people, by the way. So, but social media actually makes it look as if, they're an overnight success. It just happened and everything. So, there's been, a lot of grind, rejections, tears, and all that. So for these young creatives who are chasing likes and also quick fame, what does it take to build a work that actually lasts beyond current trends?
So this is what I'll say. You need to understand the importance of building as against being known. And that's where people are confused. You have to leave popularity for value. You need to be grounded. You don't have a tree blossom with flowers without roots. And I think that's the problem. We have trees that are blossoming, there's no roots. So a little storm comes, they crash. And that's the problem. Mentorship is something that is key. Now, I'm not saying a role model, a mentor, someone who will hold your hands, someone who has gone through that journey. This is almost just about 20 years of me doing this full time. No matter who you are, I'm sorry to say, that you started 5 years ago. You might take fantastic pictures more than I do. I mean, you have all the time to do the research. All the contents I put online, other people are put online. You can aggregate on those and try to create beautiful looking pictures. But you cannot buy the years
of experience
that I've gone through to build. See, if I lose every single thing today, every single thing, all I need is for me to be hale and healthy.
Yeah.
I'll build from scratch. Because I didn't get here overnight. It took me years. So everything I've learned, every knowledge is here. So mentorship is important. To build the industry, you even need people who understand, who have been in that game, who have seen the problem, found solutions, and then you can build on that solution, replicate it, create whatever you want to do. So mentorship is key. Mentors need to be accessible. Mentors need to be people who can hold your hand. Mentors need to be people that can hold you accountable. Absolutely. Yeah. So you must find a mentor. And you can have like 20 mentors. You can have a financial mentor. You can have a creative mentor. You can have a medical mentor, whatever you want to. So it's important that younger ones understand this, especially in this era where trend is the key. Who blow and who no blow is the problem. If you're not grounded, you'll be faced by it. It's the simple science of what, sudden acceleration creates in our system. If that's what you drive on, once it crashes, you crash.
And you don't know what to do.
And you don't know what to do. But when you're grounded, it's like me now. Sometimes I don't post for 2 months. Not a good thing, because
but we need to.
I'm not driven by that. I'm more about what I need to do, value I need to add. And I'm sorry I keep talking about the conference we're having. I'm sorry I'm advertising.
You can't, because you want to pay me.
But however, what we're pushing with this conference, which we call the Art of Enterprise, is how do we make creatives begin to build businesses? So don't just be a creative. Understand how to
become a business
person. Turn that. See, the only way you don't get frustrated as creative is if you build a structure and a business around it. So even when you want to give up, you look at your bank account. Your bank account tell you, my guy, move. You'll be like, yeah, we go. So exactly that's what we need to build. And the moment we build that, see, miscreants, I'll give you a very funny one. I was shooting in Lagos Island.
You have to be quick, time.
Yes, shooting in Lagos Island, helping someone out that I'm shooting, a young creative, and suddenly these guys come. They demand I have to pay money. I parted with about 50,000 naira that morning, so that afternoon. Now, after they all left another, one young guy comes to me and says, sir, I love what you do. That's why I kept mute when they were talking. I'm sorry I had to do this, but this is how we survived. However, I used to be a gaffer. I'm a light assistant. I can do this. If you have a project, I would love to help. And it's been following up with me ever since. There are tons of guys like this.
And you've given him a chance.
I've given him 1 or 2 chances, you understand, but I wish I can create something more sustainable and stable for him.
Kola has to be back. We're not done.
You have to leave it at that because you're kicking us out. Let's just go. We will continue our own conversation. We'll see you tomorrow.